Tokyo, a place that embodies unique beauty and vibrant life. In 1989, behind that enchanting landscape, however, lies a story that marked Japan and still sends chills down the spine today for its brutality. This is the story of Junko Furuta, a 16-year-old girl whose life was turned upside down by an atrocious crime that no one could have imagined. Junko Furuta was an ordinary girl, a typical Japanese teenager raised in Misato near Tokyo, in a loving and protective environment. She loved spending time with friends, listening to music, and dreaming of a bright future. She was a diligent student with a great interest in fashion and the arts. Her daily life revolved around school and typical teenage events, hangouts with friends, first crushes, and dreams of becoming a designer in the fashion world. To those who knew her, Junko was a beacon of energy and positivity, a young girl full of life who looked to the future with hope. On November 25, 1988, everything changed in an instant. Junko was on her way home from a birthday party, completely unaware of the fate that awaited her. While walking, she was approached by a group of boys, including Hiroshi Miyano, a 17-year-old who would abduct her. With the threat of a knife, he forced her to get on a motorcycle and took her to his accomplice's house, beginning a 44-day nightmare characterized by a series of atrocities that defy human comprehension. Once locked up, Junko became a victim of terrifying torture. Her captors did not stop at beating her. They inflicted physical and sexual violence of unprecedented brutality on her. They hit her, tortured her, and forced her to endure abuse in a seemingly endless cycle of violence. Often, one of the kidnappers would force her to contact her parents, pretending that everything was fine, an additional humiliation in the torment she was experiencing. Unfortunately, Junko was completely isolated and had no way to seek help. In one of his statements during the trial, Miyano explained that their games included arrogance and cruelty, where they took turns torturing her. On one occasion, one of the boys, after a rape, boasted about how easy and fun it was to mistreat her. The details that emerged during the trial were chilling. Junko was forced to ingest liquids and objects, crossing the boundary between pain and endurance. I refer to moments when blows were inflicted on various parts of her body, and even to macabre rituals imposed by the kidnappers, such as burning her with a lighter, all documented in a sort of cruelty diary that left everyone speechless. The climax of this spiral of horror was reached when, in an attempt to escape, Junko was captured after a few moments and severely punished. Once discovered, she was tied up and subjected to repeated violence, each time with an intensity that testified to the total absence of humanity in her tormentors. She spent days in a state of extreme suffering. Her cries for help, unfortunately, remained unheard, like a whisper carried away by the wind. On January 4th, 1989, Junko tragically died, a victim of a lethal cocktail of abuse, violence, and humiliation. It was only after her death that the drama fully emerged, uncovering the terrible truth surrounding her kidnapping. Her captors, in an attempt to rid themselves of what they had done, decided to abandon her body in a trash bin. A place where Junko, after enduring indescribable torture, would be left as refuse, an act so profoundly inhumane that it left anyone speechless. On the morning of January 5th, 1989, Junko's body was discovered in an abandoned lot in the Koto district of Tokyo by a worker performing some cleaning operations. When police officers and investigators arrived at the scene, their horror was palpable. The autopsy revealed signs of unspeakable violence, confirming the atrocities of which she had been a victim. Following the discovery of Junko's body, an immediate police investigation was launched, which succeeded in arresting those responsible. Hiroshi Miyano, along with 3 other accomplices, had been involved in a crime that shook the entire nation. During the investigations, agents found overwhelming evidence and testimonials from former friends and neighbors confirming the violence perpetrated. Every detail that emerged from the haze of terror that had enveloped Junko added pieces to a puzzle that left everyone breathless. During the trial, The account of the torture that Junko endured emerged through the statements of her captors themselves, revealing a disturbing picture. Miyano, in his testimony, tried to downplay his involvement, stating that it was just a game. He and the others, while recounting their actions, displayed a shocking indifference. They described their tortures as if they were acts of fun and challenge, insinuating that those experiences had an element of excitement for them. It was as if to them Junko had become a mere object, a pastime to torture. The atmosphere during the trial was tense. The public witnessed how brutality could be normalized among the ranks of those boys. One accomplice, in a moment of boastfulness, revealed that they considered Junko a challenge, subjecting her to pains that, in their view, made their lives more exciting. They did not settle for inflicting only physical pain. Her dignity was also destroyed. Some of the boys bragged about having filmed her while she was being abused, further reducing her existence to a mere source of entertainment. The trial attracted media attention and galvanized public opinion. Many Japanese citizens were shocked not only by the gravity of the tortures inflicted on Junko, but also by the leniency of the sentences imposed on the boys, who, being minors, did not face the legal consequences they should have. This led to intense discussions across the country regarding justice concerning juvenile crimes. Activists began calling for reforms in Japanese judicial laws, believing that the treatment given to the perpetrators was inadequate, given the brutality of their acts. The final sentence that emerged from this trial was shocking. While one of the kidnappers received a mere 3-year sentence, others were sentenced to a decade in a reform school. This disparity in relation to the gravity of the crime enraged many, fueling protests and demonstrations demanding justice. People took to the streets with signs calling for reforms, and Junko's name became a symbol of resistance against violence and abuse. Every year in Japan, a commemoration is held to honor Junko Furuta, a painful reminder of her life and the tragic fate she suffered. The lit candles and flowers placed in her memory are symbols of a continuous struggle, a call to ensure that such atrocities never happen again. Junko became not only a victim, but a symbol of the necessity to protect young people and women from all forms of violence. The story of Junko Furuta intertwines with themes of justice, impunity, and the urgent need for reforms in a system that, at that time, failed to defend the most vulnerable. Each year, her name is evoked not only to remember the atrocities endured, but also to confront the shadows of our society and ensure a safer future for all those who might find themselves in similar situations. Junko's case is not merely the chronicle of a crime, it is a warning for society. It means working together to prevent violence and ensuring that every victim receives the support and justice they deserve. Her tragic story has opened a crucial debate on the conditions and laws regarding domestic and juvenile violence in Japan, thereby enhancing awareness and protection for potential victims. Junko Furuta has become a symbol of the fight against violence and the necessity for change. Every year, on November 26th, a commemorative event takes place in Japan in her memory, where friends, supporters, and activists gather to shed light on issues of justice and safety. Candles are lit, and messages of solidarity are shared, reminding that her life and suffering must not be forgotten. The most significant aspect of her story is that it has led to greater awareness regarding the treatment that victims of violence receive from the justice system. Junko was not just a victim. Her life and ordeal have propelled movements to reform Japanese laws regarding juvenile crimes, ensuring that those guilty of such severe acts cannot receive relatively light punishments simply for being minors. As Japan moves forward in delivering justice for Junko and ensuring greater safety for all young people, her name will continue to resonate as a symbol of hope and change. The story of Junko Furuta, however tragic, reminds us of the importance of protecting the most vulnerable in our society and ensuring that justice always prevails. Only in this way can we honor her memory while working toward a future where such atrocities never happen again. The story of Junko Furuta serves as a painful reminder of how dark humanity can become, but it is also a call to fight against violence and to ensure that justice is pursued without compromise. We are committed to making sure that her story is not forgotten and that it becomes a catalyst for change.